Campfire Classics is a classic literature podcast. However, your hosts will occasionally use not-so-classy language and immature humor to describe very mature situations. As such, listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Ken Sandberg.
And I'm Heather Michelle Lawler.
Welcome to Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
Is that a Buddy Holly song? Wait, I'm second guessing myself.
Oh, wait, are you really asking?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that is Every Day by Buddy Holly.
That's it. I started singing it, and I immediately went, is this just a weird thing to be singing right now?
Yeah. Yep. No,
Okay.
that is Every Day by Budward G. Holificent.
Budward G. Holificent? Is that
Yeah.
the wizard name of Buddy Holly?
That's the wizard name, yeah. We've been giving him lots of names over the process. Primarily, he's referred to as Bibbidi Hibbidi.
Bibbidi Hibbidi.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah. Bubby Hollowitz.
Bubby So that's his Jewish name.
Yeah.
That's when he goes to audition for Fiddler on the Roof and wants to get cast. So he gives himself a Jewish-y sounding name. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. It's either that or it's the Buddy Kosher.
He's like
he's the kosher version of Buddy Holly. He's the one that you can bring to Seder.
And I would say that I'm pretty sure Buddy Holly is the kosher version of Buddy Holly. I mean, now I might learn something when I come see your show, but as far as I remember from when I saw the show when I was 9 in London, he's a pretty family-friendly fella.
Certainly the version that you get in this play is pretty family-friendly, and we have been explicitly told that in our sort of background improvisations, the stuff that we say, we're not allowed to curse.
Yes.
We're not allowed to say God. We're not allowed to say we're not allowed to reference religion in any way.
Because you're in Mormon country.
So all of the goddammits have been stricken from the show.
Oh, there's goddammits in the show. Did you say those in the other versions?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but there's...
It's because you're in Mormon country. It happens.
There's a line where someone says something about god-awful piece of garbage. Not allowed to say god-awful. That's cut. It is now the most skillet-licking terrible.
Wowza.
Which I think actually sounds way more explicit.
What is skillet licking?
I don't know, but it sounds dirty.
It does sound really dirty. Well, that was so you're doing the version that, the only thing we had to change in Footloose for the cruise was the fuck, which is in literally the first scene of the play. And Ren is supposed to say, where the fuck is Beaumont? Which really establishes his character, but instead we had to say, where the hell is Beaumont? And just not the same.
Yeah.
But you gotta keep those conservative money people happy, because they're willing to destroy the country and everybody around them, but God forbid you use the word God or fuck.
Skillet liquor forbid.
Skillet
liquor forbid.
Skillet liquor forbid that you use the words G-O-D or F-U-C-K. See you next Tuesday, motherfuckers.
So, hey there, listeners. Welcome to Theater Watch, where we discuss censorship in family-friendly theater.
Or censorship in general, I guess. But, yeah. But, yes.
What do you think sounds dirtier? God-awful or skillet-licking? Which do you find more offensive? Please write in and tell us. Or, better yet, here we go. Listener competition. What is the most sort of offensive sounding phrase you can think of that isn't actually offensive?
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Right? Skillet licking. It sounds offensive. It sounds dirty. It sounds kind of sexual, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's just something that I do after I make pancakes.
You lick the skillet? Doesn't that hurt?
Well, I wait for it to cool down first.
Damn, baby.
I'm not an idiot. I'm an idiot, but I like...
Not that kind of idiot. Yeah.
Not that kind of idiot. I stuck my tongue to a frozen flagpole when I was a child.
Of course you did, because you lived in Minnesota.
Well, yeah.
If you didn't do that at some point, like,
and it wasn't a frozen flagpole. I had heard as a kid that you're not supposed to stick your tongue on frozen metal, on cold metal, but I didn't know why. Nobody explained to me what would happen. And so I'm sitting on the bus and the metal window frame is frozen. And I'm like, I wonder what'll happen if, oh, this hurts.
You
this
are
is not good.
You are the child from A Christmas Story. Okay, cool.
And I tried breathing on it really heavy to like melt the ice, but that didn't work. Eventually, I just pulled my tongue off, and I lost a couple of chunks of skin off the tip of my tongue. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
It was bad.
I'm not going to lie. So I never lived in a frozen climate until well after I was of the knowledge of what happens, because we moved to Iowa when I was 14.
Right.
So I knew what would happen, but every time I see frozen metal, I do have the like little bit of an urge to pull the Christmas Story. I'm going to be like, what's that feel like? What's it like? And like, it is beyond every like rational thought in my mind, but I still want to do it.
So what you do, if you really need to know what it feels like, what you do is you plan ahead and you go out with a cup of like hot coffee.
Okay. Because then you pour that on it.
And then you pour it down in front of you and it'll melt all the ice.
I feel like that would also hurt in its own way.
Well, yeah.
Because you're also pouring hot coffee on your mouth and your face. And you're like...
You're only pouring it on your face if you have really terrible aim.
Well, I mean, you are stuck to the flagpole. I'm imagining you're trying to like self-pour. You're going to like have some backsplash. That's all I'm thinking. Wow. I'm just, well, let's stick around for next winter, everybody. Welcome to Campfire Classics. So what do we do?
So please do message us.
Yes.
Shoot a message to 5050artsproduction@gmail.com or find Campfire Classics on any of the social media and tell us what is the most offensive sounding, inoffensive phrase you can think of. Extra points if it has something to do with your tongue.
I'm sure a couple of them will.
And while you're at it, go ahead and like and follow and subscribe and leave us a review. Give us some stars. Type up a review, even better.
Yeah.
Just because that helps us out. If you are new to the podcast, you should know that this is not ordinarily a quite so tongue obsessed as this episode has been so
usually
far.
Much more penis obsessed than tongue.
It's usually way more penis obsessed than tongue obsessed.
But you know what?
Typically. But
we're branching
the tongue
out.
Is kind of phallic shaped.
We're branching out. It's good.
Both end up in mouths sometimes.
If you're doing it right, I guess. If you're living the good life.
Oh.
Skilt licking, yeah.
But that's not what we do here. I mean, it's kind of what we do.
It's kind of what we do. I mean, what we do technically is we read some stories and we comment on them, but we also, make a lot of inappropriate jokes.
Yeah, I guess it is. It is right in line. I don't know why every week I say this isn't what we do when I'm like, well, yeah, it fucking is.
It actually is what we do.
It's absolutely what we do.
It is not the purpose of the podcast, but we ourselves absolutely do this every week.
So the purpose of the podcast, for those of you who are new, and if we're doing our jobs right, every episode is somebody's first episode. What we do is we take turns reading short stories, sight unseen. We give them a cold read for you, the listener, and we just try to muscle our way through these stories that we have pulled out of public domain. We pull them out of public domain for two reasons. One, because they're free and we can't get sued for using them. And two, because stories in public domain tend to be a little bit older and therefore have language that we'll maybe have to look up, or that maybe is a penis joke now that wasn't 170 years ago when the story was written.
170 years ago? We haven't done many of those.
No, we've done a few, though.
We have done a few. I was going to say, okay, well, now the next one I get you is
like,
going to be real old. It's going to be like
the 1850s.
I'm going to bring in one from like Greek times next time.
Yes. Yes. Have me sitting here trying to decipher ancient Greek.
There you go. And it's not going to be translated because, you know.
All you'll get is
it's like when I gave you that one story that was written in dialect.
Well, it was written in Gaelic.
It was written in Gaelic. I did not realize it because, again, part of what we do on here is the stories we read are sight unseen by not only the reader, but the chooser of the story, which is me this week. So I was not aware that the story was in Gaelic. And you did quite well, actually.
Thank you. But no amount of drinking Guinness is going to make me able to read Gaelic.
No, I'm pretty sure there's no Gaelic in this one, though our author this week is Irish.
Ooh, that sounds like a good segue.
Look what I did.
Welcome to the fun facts portion of the episode, where Heather is going to tell us some fun facts that'll get us in the mood.
In the mood for story time. So I had an idea of where I wanted to go this week, and I changed ideas like 7 times because I kept like finding something else that I was like, oh, maybe this person, or oh, maybe this story. And then it randomly led me to this person, which we have not covered before. Okay. So I went from like 4 authors that we had covered that I wanted to cover again and found Vincent James O'Sullivan.
Yeah, that sounds like a new name to me.
It's new. Mr. Vincent James O'Sullivan, Vinny J, was an American-born writer, so don't confuse him if you Google him right now. There is also a Vincent O'Sullivan who is a current writer from New Zealand. That's not who we're doing.
Okay.
So this is the American-born writer that was born in 1868 or 1867, depending on the source. So
sure,
he was born around then. There's some confusion, but he was born in New York City.
Okay.
So he was a poet and a writer. He was a first-generation Irish immigrant with his father, Eugene. His father made a fortune in the coffee trade, so we love Eugene O'Sullivan.
Like him. All right.
Loving
Give me
him.
that Irish coffee.
Irish coffee, baby. His father also founded the Long Island College Hospital. And when his father passed away in 1892, when Vincent was about roughly, let's see, how old would he be there? In his mid-20s. He left him approximately $1 million, him and all his brothers. So there was a family inheritance.
Lord.
Yeah. So as a first generation Irish immigrant, doing pretty good.
So Papa did all right.
Papa did okay. So he was
everybody likes coffee.
Exactly. And everybody likes a good hospital that teaches people how to be better at being doctors.
So we have him to thank for Starbucks and the TV show Scrubs.
Eugene O'Sullivan. Thank you, sir. So Vincent got a very good education. He was schooled in New York. And then his brother and him left to go to England to go to Catholic Oscott School, which is like a private school. And then in 1892, O'Sullivan, I'm going to use the word that I found in the wiki article because I love this word, matriculated.
Sure.
Studied I just love, like, it's such a fancy, snotty word for I studied at. And he did study at Oxford, so let's be real. So he definitely matriculated.
So he probably used the word matriculated.
He matriculated.
Have you matriculated? Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, I went to Oxford.
I did.
But Mr. Vincent O'Sullivan was not super into it because he studied barely a term before he was like, fuck this, I'm going to go be a writer.
So, Vinny J.
Vinny J. O'Sullivan. He was like, bye.
Vinny J. O'Sullivan, he sounds like an actor who does a whole bunch of Guy Ritchie movies.
Yeah, definitely. He's kind of like this brutish guy, or he does what's the guy that does all the like Boondock Saints and all that stuff. Like he sounds like he'd be in that kind of movie. I know.
Yes.
I can't even think of him right now.
Troy Duffy.
That's not what I'm thinking. But like I'm thinking of like Martin McDonagh type, like very like dirty, like Irish, like what's the Gangs of New York? Like he feels like he's in those all those movies and Guy Ritchie movies and stuff. But no, he was just a humble writer.
And a humble writer with $1 million in the 1890s.
Wait for it. So he went off and he remained in London. He left Oxford, went to London, and began to publish poems and essays in magazines and newspapers and whatever, like most of our writers.
Like most of our writers do,
His first collection was published in 1896. So, and I'm also going to use the phrase that I found in the article that I did the research on because I would just love it. Like many aspiring young artists of the 90s.
Okay.
Now, we're talking the 1890s, y'all, remember? So I'm just like,
sure.
I just love that that's how it was phrased.
Great.
Because we all know how young artists in the 90s were.
Right. But so I'm wondering, how does that sentence end? Like many young artists in the 90s, what?
He was a regular at Leonard Smither's bookshop, which apparently, we have not covered this, was a very popular hangout for Yeats, Holbrook Jackson, like other writers of the time, including Oscar Wilde, who became a very good friend of Mr. O'Sullivan's.
Okay.
So this was like, it was
like
like
many young artists.
Like many young artists of the 90s, he liked to hang out at the Shake Shack, or what was the place in the fucking, what was in Saved by the Bell?
Shake Shack?
No, Shake Shack. That's like the 60s. No, I'm thinking like in like Saved by the Bell.
Pit?
The Peach Pit. That wasn't Saved by the Bell. That was 90210, I think.
90210 or Party of Five or one of those other ones.
Yeah, like one of those places. Yeah, because like, or like think of every show in the 90s. They all hung out at like a coffee shop, like Friends.
Gilmore Girls. They
all had a fucking coffee shop they hung out at. So like it is. The young artist.
He really did go hang out at Starbucks.
He really did go hang out at Starbucks. So he went to this coffee shop that had books. It was a bookshop that had coffee, I'm sure. Maybe Dad supplied the coffee. I don't know.
This is the kind of place I would want to go hang out in New York.
Right? So he became very good friends with Oscar Wilde. And Oscar Wilde, after reading O'Sullivan's early poems, commented, and this is a direct quote, "In what a midnight his soul seems to walk, and what maladies he draws from the moon." So, a little dark.
I'm also just going to say, most of the writers who spend time hanging out with Oscar Wilde have a history of getting pulled into some kind of scandal or other.
I did not find anything that now I'm not going to give it away.
Maybe he was too moody. He was
very broody. So he also had another quote. Now, this is also from Oscar Wilde. So Oscar Wilde's other quote about him is very funny and very British. It says, "He was really very pleasant for one who treats life from the standpoint of the tomb. A man of great nobility, an American, but without any trace of Americanism." I was was like, okay, I can kind of sense this guy. Very dark and very very moody and very British, apparently.
For a moody jack-off Yank, he wasn't awful.
We hung out with him. He was fine. So Vincent clearly lived comfortably. He was hanging out at the bookstore and the Peach Pit and like writing his poems and his books. And he had quite a few things published. And he was doing fine until 1909 when he lost his family fortune because his brother Percy made a very mistimed gamble in the New York Coffee Exchange, which I'm guessing is like the stock exchange. Like they were like probably went public
for coffee. Yeah,
for
sure.
coffee. But yeah, so the family was ruined. He lost all of his money and remained poor for the rest of his life. So despite a lot of his friends helped him out because they knew what had happened to him. You know, it wasn't due to lack of, it wasn't like he wasn't working.
Right. He
just
didn't fuck it up.
He didn't fuck it up. His brother did. And of course, now we're starting to head into the Depression era and like all this stuff. So like, it's, you know, it's not going well. So Oscar Wilde and a couple friends like assisted him financially here and there when he hadn't sold a story in a while and whatnot. But he basically lived on like what we would consider like food stamps and like the Salvation Army, basically. So he lived in these low income housings. One of them was the Nouvelle Hotel in Paris was someplace he ended up for a while. Things went bad to worse. He continued to write, but he had a couple injuries. So he had to go to the hospital, and then he got moved to another hotel through the Salvation Army. And then, of course, the Depression hit. And then, you know, World War I had already hit. And now World War II is rolling around. So, like, I didn't cover any of this time in the next like 30 years because he was writing, he was surviving, but things weren't going great. And in 1940, he was back in the Hotel Nouvelle, which is like, he'd been bouncing around for like 35 years. 35 years in like these Salvation Army hotels. And he took ill on July 11th, 1940, and was admitted to a hospital where he died on July 26th. He was buried in a pauper's grave at the hospital's expense because like
he didn't have any money.
He didn't have any money, and his family like was all in America still. And like, so it's actually quite hard to find information about him. I like was doing a lot of research, but I found a couple really good essays on him written by like scholars, like literature scholars. But like his Wikipedia page isn't super packed. But his stories, I found this quote that was really nice in one of the essays I was reading. Even in a collection that includes such figures as Bram Stoker, Vernon Lee, etc., O'Sullivan's prose is vivid, flowing, and capable of deathly sudden twists. So, I'm excited for this. So, you are going to be reading one of O'Sullivan's stories today called The Interval.
The Interval.
Yes.
That can mean several things.
It sure can. And it was, at least the version I have, it says it was first published in the Boston Evening Transcript.
Okay.
So,
cool.
All right.
The Interval. Let's start this fire.
Let's do the interval and start the fire.
The Interval by Vinnie J. O'Sullivan.
Vinnie J. O'Sullivan.
From the Boston Evening Transcript. Mrs. Wilton passed through a little alley leading from one of the gates, which are around Regent's Park, and came out on the wide and quiet street. She walked along slowly, peering anxiously from side to side so as not to overlook the number. She pulled her furs closer around her. After her years in India, this London damp seemed very harsh. Still, it was not a fog today. A dense haze, gray and tinged ruddy, lay between the houses, sometimes blowing with a...
Tinged ruddy sounds kind of dirty. Going back to our pre-show chat. Show me your tinged ruddy, baby. This sounds...
Tinged ruddy could also be I'm going to say this and decide if I fit in later when I listen to it back. Tinged ruddy could also be what happens to a young lady's underwear the first time she experiences her.
Gross. So either way, it sounds dirty.
Either way, it's not clean.
All right. It's a dense haze, gray and tinged ruddy.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, everybody.
A dense haze, gray and tinged ruddy, lay between the houses, sometimes blowing with little wet kiss against the face. Mrs. Wilton's hair and eyelashes and her furs were powdered with tiny drops, but there was nothing in the weather to blur the sight. She could see the faces of people some distance off and read the signs on the shops.
So Mrs. Wilton is standing in front of this place, wet and tinged ruddy. Okay, yep. Cool. Great. We're in a good place. Covered in fur. Hot.
She's a wet furry.
Wet furry!
Before the door of a dealer in antiques and second-hand furniture, she paused and looked through the shabby, unclean window at an unassorted heap of things, many of them of great value. She read the Polish name fastened on a pane in white letters. Yes, this is the place.
This is creepy. I don't know what's going on in this place. It's like, here I am from India in my furs, wet and walking into this creepy antique place. All right, here we go.
She opened the door, which met her entrance with an ill-tempered jangle. From somewhere in the black depths of the shop, the dealer came forward. He had a clammy white face with a sparse black beard and wore a skull cap with spectacles. Mrs. Wilton spoke to him in a low voice. A look of complicity, of cunning, perhaps of irony, passed through the dealer's cynical and sad eyes, but he bowed gravely and respectfully.
Ew, what did she say? What did she say?
We don't know. We're only going to hear his response.
Fuck!
Yes, she is here, madam. Whether she will see you or not, I do not know. She is not always well. She has her moods. And then we have to be so careful. The police, not that they would touch a lady like you, but the poor alien has not much chance these days.
Oh my God, who is in this shop? Who are they hiding?
A little gray man.
A little alien. I'm sure that was the version of alien he used and not someone from a different country. I'm sure.
Not foreigner.
No. It's a little gray person. Yep.
Yeah. Mrs. Wilton followed him to the back of the shop where there was a winding staircase. She knocked over a few things in her passage and stooped to pick them up, but the dealer kept muttering, "It does not matter. Surely it does not matter." He lit a candle.
Ew.
"You must go up these stairs. They are very dark. Be careful. When you come to a door, open it and go straight in."
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, go up these winding stairs. It's really dark. But then open a door and go inside. Yeah, that sounds... And the police might get involved. And there's somebody in there who has their moods. I don't know what this is.
There's an alien. There's a moody alien in there. Also, you've been knocking over this dude's shit.
I know, and he doesn't care. He's like, usually an antique person is pretty pissed when you knock over their shit. But this guy's like, I don't care.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just fucking go inside.
Just get inside. Just get the fuck out of my way. I don't know what's happening. Okay, here we go.
He stood at the front of the stairs, holding the light high above his head, and she ascended. The room was not very large, and it seemed very ordinary. There were some flimsy, uncomfortable chairs in gilt and red. 2 large palms were in the corners. Under a glass cover on the table was a view of Rome.
Oh, we're in Italy. We didn't know that.
Well, no, we're in London, but through the table is Italy.
Oh, it's like Alice in Wonderland. Okay.
It's very wibbly wobbly.
Okay, great. Yeah. Cool.
The room had not a businesslike look, thought Mrs. Wilton. There was no suggestion of the office or waiting room where people came and went all day, yet you would not say that it was a private room which was lived in. There were no books or papers about. Every chair was in the place it had been placed when the room was last swept. There was no fire, and it was very cold.
I don't like this room. Why did we go in this room?
Because the guy told her to after she asked a question that we didn't get to hear.
And what did I say? I said no.
You said no. She said yes.
Well,
clearly you're a chicken shit.
Excuse me, I think I'm just smart.
Well, we'll see.
I guess
as
we'll
the story
find out.
Progresses. To the right of the window was a door covered with a plush curtain. Mrs. Wilton sat down near the table and watched this door. She thought it must be through it that the soothsayer would come forth.
Oh no! Oh no! It's a fortune teller story!
The last one of these we had did not end well.
No, and it was gross. I remember that one. That was a long time ago.
There was a lot of shit about raisins in it.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see if raisins come up
again.
If
raisins pop up, I'm going to freak the fuck out.
I'm going to be like,
She laid her hands listlessly, one on top of the other, on the table. This must be the 10th seer she had consulted since Hugh had been killed.
No, we just got a lot of information.
Yep. She thought them over. No, this must be the 11th. She had forgotten that frightening man in Paris who said he had been a priest.
Ew,
yet,
creepy.
Of them all, it was only he who had told her anything definite. But even he could do no more than tell the past. He told of her marriage. He even had the duration right, 21 months. He told too of their time in India. At least he knew that her husband had been a soldier, and said he had been on service in the colonies. On the whole, though, he had been as unsatisfactory as the others. None of them had given her the consolation she sought.
Oh, what is she looking for?
She did not want to be told of the past. If Hugh was gone forever, then with him had gone all her love of living, her courage, all her better self. She wanted to be lifted out of that despair, the dazed, aimless drifting from day to day, longing at night for the morning and in the morning for the fall of night, which had been her life since his death. If somebody could assure her that it was not all over, that he was somewhere not too far away, unchanged from what he had been here, with his crisp hair and rather slow smile and lean brown face, that he saw her sometimes, that he had not forgotten her.
Oh, Jesus. Whoa. Okay, so Mrs. Wilton's a little cray-cray. She's like lost her mind a little bit, and she's looking for proof of the afterlife.
She's just distraught.
I think she needs some counseling and not 11 soothsayers.
Well, maybe this soothsayer is going to be a counselor.
Maybe. I'm going to go with, I don't know how good mental health care was back in the 1800s. But,
I do. I know how good it was.
Yeah,
it's
called electric shock therapy.
Car batteries.
Yes,
Not great.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go.
Oh, Hugh, darling. When she looked up again...
Did she just have an orgasm?
Yeah. That's what I was going for. So I'm glad you got that.
He's there. He came to her.
He's...
He came to her.
he came to her. She came for him. You know.
Yay. Oh, there is afterlife. Good.
Do you believe in life after love?
I believe.
Apparently, she believes in love after life.
There you go. Let's find out. I want to know.
When she looked up again, the woman was sitting there before her. Mrs. Wilton had not heard her come in. With her experience, wide enough now, of seers and fortune-tellers of all kinds, she saw at once that this woman was different from the others. She was used to the quick appraising look, the attempts sometimes clumsy but often cleverly disguised to collect some fragments of information whereupon to erect a plausible vision. But this woman looked as if she took it out of herself.
I hate when people stare at me to try and erect a plausible vision.
Yeah, and then take their erect vision out.
That's like walking into the crew bar by yourself as a woman. It's like you're just like erecting a lot of many plausible visions.
And do people whip out their erect visions?
You know what? I don't know what they do in their cabins. I don't know what they do in their cabins. I got in and out of there as quickly as possible when I was by myself.
I think that's what they were trying to do too, is get in and out as quick as possible.
Ba-da-ching. Hashtag cruise. Hashtag what? Ship life. That's what I was looking for.
Not that her appearance suggested intercourse with the spiritual world more than the others had.
It just keeps going. We haven't had an ejaculation yet, but I want to point out we've had someone's wet, they're erect, and now there's intercourse being spoken of. Okay, just okay.
Yep.
And she had an orgasm.
The spiritual world.
And she had an orgasm thinking of her husband.
She came.
Okay, she came. Okay, we're doing good. We're doing good. All right.
Although she came silently.
Yes.
Well, the soothsayer came silently.
That's
It suggested that, in fact, considerably less. Some of the others were frail, yearning, evaporated creatures, and the ex-priest in Paris had something terrible and condemned in his look. He might well sup with the devil, that man, and probably did in some way or other, but this was a little, fat, weary-faced woman about 50 who only did not look like a cook because she looked more like a sempstress.
What's a sempstress? A seamstress?
You are correct. Sempstress.
Oh.
Noun. Another term for seamstress.
Hey, look at that.
There we go.
Now, I'm going to call all my costumer friends sempstresses from now on. They're going to be like, what the fuck are you? Are you our sempstress? They'll be like, what? Be like, I'm educated. I have a podcast.
Are you our sempstress? Were you hit in the head?
A few times.
But this was a little fat, weary-faced woman about 50 who only did not look like a cook because she looked more like a sempstress. Her black dress was all covered with white threads. Mrs. Wilton looked at her with some embarrassment. It seemed more reasonable to be asking a woman like this about altering a gown than about intercourse with the dead. Just don't. Just don't. Just like...
Don't talk about intercourse with the dead?
It's a crime.
I mean, that is like quite literally necrophilia. Well, I don't know if it was a crime in the 1800s. You were allowed to give people lobotomies for like I don't know, was a dead person banging like illegal?
I'm pretty sure digging up corpses and fucking them has always been illegal.
What if he's not buried yet? And maybe it wasn't illegal, but probably frowned upon.
I'm sure you'd get some side eye.
Yeah, and it's not like socially acceptable, but sometimes people are just like, that's their thing. We just don't talk about it.
Mom, Dad, this is my boyfriend, Jim. He kind of has a smell, sweetheart.
What? I'm into zombies.
Hi, I'm Jim. My friends call me Dead Jim.
Dead Jim.
Don't let the missing eyeball fool you. It's fine.
She sucked it out last night. Anyway.
Whoa!
Gross.
Nope. That's there. We found it. That's the line right there.
Did we find the line tonight?
We found it. That's it.
Okay, she's going to have intercourse with the dead.
It seemed more reasonable to be asking a woman like this about altering a gown than about intercourse with the dead. That seemed even absurd in such a very commonplace presence. The woman seemed timid and oppressed. She breathed heavily and kept rubbing her dingy hands, which looked moist, one over the other. She was always wetting her lips and coughed with a little dry cough.
No, I can't make this shit up.
But in her, these signs of nervous exhaustion suggested overwork in a close atmosphere, bending too close over the sewing machine. Her uninterested hair, like a rat's pelt, was eked out with a false addition of another color. Some threads had got into her hair, too.
Oh, it's a hard life when you're a seamstress and a soothsayer.
Yeah.
Pulling double duty like that, being a single mother in the 1800s, man, it's a rough time.
Apparently, it makes you rub your moist stuff together.
It makes you rub your moist lips together.
Her harried, uneasy look caused Mrs. Wilton to ask compassionately, "Are you much worried by the police?" "Oh, the police. Why don't they leave us alone? You never know who comes to see you. Why don't they leave me alone? I'm a good woman. I only think. What I do is no harm to anyone."
I'm sorry, young lady. Thinking as a woman in the 1800s is a crime. So by you thinking, we're not having that.
Yeah, that's why they're after her. Yeah.
That's definitely why they're after her.
She continued in an uneven, querulous voice, always rubbing her hands together nervously. She seemed to the visitor to be talking at random, just gabbling like children do sometimes before they fall asleep. "I wanted to explain," hesitated Mrs. Wilton, but the woman, with her head pressed against the back of the chair, was staring beyond her at the wall. Her face had lost whatever little expression it had. It was blank and stupid. That's rude. Hey, stupid face.
Hey, stupid. Hey, stupid. Tell me about intercourse. Come on. That's what I'm paying you for.
Hey, stupid face. Tell me about intercourse with my dead husband. Hey, stupid, what do you think I'm here for, huh?
I'm Vinny J. O'Sullivan. What do you think I'm here for?
I'm here for intercorpse.
Yeah. I
did it. I won. When she spoke, it was very slowly, and her voice was guttural. "Can't you see him? It seems strange to me that you can't see him. He is so near you. He's passing his arm around your shoulders." This was a frequent gesture of Hugh's, and indeed at that moment she felt that somebody was very near her, bending over her. She was enveloped in tenderness. Only a very thin veil, she felt, prevented her from seeing. But the woman saw. She was describing Hugh minutely, even the little things like the burn on his right hand. "Is he happy? Oh, ask him, does he love me?"
You don't want to know this, lady.
The result was so far beyond anything she had hoped for that she was stunned. She could only stammer the first thing that came into her head. "Does he love me?" "He loves you." He won't answer, but he loves you. He wants me to make you see him. He is disappointed, I think, because I can't. But I can't unless you do it yourself. After a while, she said, "I think you will see him again. You think of nothing else. He is very close to us now." Then she collapsed and fell into a heavy sleep and lay there motionless, hardly breathing. Mrs. Wilton put some notes on the table and stole out on tiptoe.
Wait, the fuck? Did Oda Mae Brown just show up? Like, this is fucking like ghost.
Oh, I should have been doing a whoopee.
No, you cannot do a whoopee for so many reasons, but I just had some serious like flashback energy to the movie Ghost. like when she's like when the guy goes into her body and she's like, "Hi," and then she falls. She's like, "Oh my God, get out of my body!" All right, well that was creepy. I love that she just left this woman passed out in a chair and was like, "I'll just leave her some money." And like, bye.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You just leave some cash on the nightstand?
Leave cash on the nightstand because they explained intercourse to you, and you know,
yep.
you're a real woman now. Girl, you'll be a woman soon.
Wow.
I don't know.
All right.
It got weird.
Cool.
Okay, so now where do we go from here?
She seemed to remember that downstairs in the dark shop, the dealer with the waxen face detained her to show her some old silver and jewelry and such like, but she did not come to herself. She had no precise recollection of anything till she found herself entering a church near Portland Place. That's probably a good place to go after what you just experienced.
Yeah, I don't know where I would go after that. I'd be like,
it was an unlikely act in her normal moments. Why did
to go
she
to
go
church?
in there?
Yeah, well, fuck. I mean, like,
She acted like one walking in her sleep. The church was old and dim with high black pews.
Ew.
There was nobody there. Mrs. Wilton sat down in one of the pews and bent forward with her face in her hands.
I don't think Mrs. Wilton's even Catholic. I think she has been possessed by a demon. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah. After a few minutes, she saw that a soldier had come in noiselessly and placed himself about a half-dozen rows ahead of her. He never turned round, but presently she was struck by something familiar in the figure. First, she thought vaguely that the soldier looked like her Hugh. Then, when he put up his hand, she saw who it was. She hurried out of the pew and ran towards him. "Oh, Hugh! Hugh! Have you come back?" He looked round with a smile. He had not been killed. It was all a mistake. He was going to speak.
Oh, shit.
Footsteps sounded hollow in the empty church. She turned and glanced down the dim aisle. It was an old sexton or verger who approached. "I thought I heard you call," he said. "I was speaking to my husband." But Hugh was nowhere to be seen. "He was here a moment ago." She looked about in anguish. "He must have gone to the door." "There's nobody here," said the old man gently. "Only you and me. Ladies are often taken funny since the war."
Rude! Fucking
There was
rude.
one in here yesterday afternoon, said she was married in this church and her husband had promised to meet her here. Perhaps you were married here? "No," said Mrs. Wilton desolately. "I was married in India."
Oh, for a second, I thought she died, in the soothsayer's room. I thought the twist was that's why she didn't know why she ended up in this place or something. Okay. So there was a twist, but that was not the twist. Okay.
But that wasn't it. It may have been 2 or 3 days after that when she went into a small Italian restaurant in the Bayswater district. She often went out for her meals now. She had developed an exhausting cough, and she found that it somehow became less troublesome when she was in a public place looking at strange faces. In her flat, there were all the things that Hugh had used. The trunks and bags still had his name on them with the labels of places where they had been together. They were like stabs. In the restaurant, people came and went, many soldiers, 2 among them, just glancing at her in her corner. This day, as it chanced, she was rather late and there was nobody there. She was very tired. She nibbled at the food they brought her. She could almost have cried from tiredness and loneliness and the ache in her heart.
This is sad.
Yeah.
Jesus. We need more intercourse. More intercourse.
He was before her.
Oh, good.
Sitting there opposite at the table. It was as it was in the days of their engagement when they used sometimes to lunch at restaurants. He was not in uniform. He smiled at her and urged her to eat just as he had used in those days.
Aww.
I met her that afternoon as she was crossing Kensington Gardens, and she told me about it. I have been with Hugh. She seemed most happy. Did he say anything? No. Well, yes, I think he did, but I could not quite hear. My head was so very tired. The next time, I did not see her for some time after that. She found, I think, that by going to places where she had once seen him, the old church, the little restaurant, she was more certain to see him again. She never saw him at home, but in the street or the park, he would often walk along beside her. Once, he saved her from being run over.
Oh, my God.
She said she actually felt his hand grabbing her arm suddenly when a car was nearly upon her. She had given me the address of the clairvoyant, and it is through that strange woman that I know, or seem to know, what followed.
Oh, no.
Mrs. Wilton was not exactly ill last winter, not so ill at least as to keep her to her bedroom, but she was very thin, and her great handsome eyes always seemed to be staring at some point beyond, searching. There was a look in them that seamen's eyes sometimes have when they are drawing on a coast of which they are not very certain. She lived almost in solitude. She hardly ever saw anybody, except when they sought her out. To those who were anxious about her, she laughed and said she was very well. One sunny morning, she was lying awake, waiting for the maid to bring her tea. The shy London sunlight peeped through the blinds. The room had a fresh and happy look. When she heard the door open, she thought that the maid had come in. Then she saw that Hugh was standing at the foot of the bed. He was in uniform this time and looked as he had looked the day he went away. "Oh, Hugh, speak to me. Will you not say just one word?" He smiled and threw back his head, just as he had used to in the old days at her mother's house when he wanted to call her out of the room without attracting the attention of the others. He moved towards the door, still signing to her to follow him. He picked up her slippers on his way and held them out to her as if he wanted her to put them on. She slipped out of bed hastily. It is strange that when they came to look through her things after her death, the slippers could never be found. The end.
Oh my God. That was the weirdest retelling of My Fair Lady I have ever heard. Here's your bloody slippers. Oh my God. That was so sad and weird and creepy and I don't know if that was a cautionary tale or a hopeful tale or a tale of the macabre.
I think it was just a story about sometimes we manifest the ghosts that we need when we're in grief.
Yeah. But it seems like when she finally found the ghost, actually, she just retreated.
Well,
from the world.
early on it did say that she had lost all interest in living in the world if she wasn't going to get to be with him again.
God, they were only together for 21 months. That's some Romeo and Juliet shit right there.
Well, it's not that bad. Romeo and Juliet had 21
hours. 21 hours total, I think, is when that play takes place. But it's some real life Romeo and Juliet. This was not an old woman. They had not been together for he clearly had died in the war is clearly what had happened. So it's a war widow. No, I don't like that was just I didn't know where that was going. Like, and then all of a sudden it was like in first person, like somebody else was telling the story the whole time, and that was good.
So you had decided you wanted a ghost story?
Yes, because we hadn't had a ghost story in a while, and I was like, I knew we were going to be recording late at night.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, this will be a fun time to do a ghost story because it's ooh. Yeah. We hadn't done a ghost story since I'd been back, and it was just I looked at. Well, I actually started with H.G. Wells because we talked about the
Always
Star.
A good choice.
We talked about the Star last week,
right?
And then I found like an H.G. Wells almost ghost story kind of thing, but it was way too long. And then that one led me to like an Ambrose Bierce story. And then that led me to Sir Johnny Bangs, who I realized you and Emily had just done it wasn't just
not that long ago.
It was like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, not that one. And then then I finally this just kind of popped up in an article with a bunch of these other people. And I was like, who's this person? I don't know this person. How fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's friends with Oscar Wilde. So cool.
Yeah. Oscar Wilde liked him. He can't be all bad.
Can't be all that bad, Yeah. Oscar Wilde was cool with him. I like this. I like the style. It was very like, ooh, but also very like touching, but without being like smack you in the face because they kept saying intercourse. So it's like, so I got really sucked in, but I just kept going. And then there's something about semen's eyes and like, I don't know. I just,
Yeah, I very intentionally tried to blow past semen eyes.
You tried to blow past semen eyes? How good of you to blow past those semen eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to keep going.
You just gotta blow, keep blowing.
Just keep on going. Just blow right through.
Blow right through those semen. Yeah.
Yep.
We're a classy bunch here at Campfire Classics.
Yeah, well, we have maintained a good balance of dick and tongue humor.
Yes, we have. You're welcome, listeners. I almost did an O. Henry one too, because that came up
those are always fun.
Those are fun. But yeah, I was glad I found a new author. I love that we were 103 episodes in and we continue to stumble upon these like hidden gems that were like quite like huge writers at the time. So
yeah, well, they're out there, and that's kind of
why we do this.
Right? Yeah.
Like that's why it's kind of fun. It's like, hey, you think you're gonna run out of material, but art will always win. There will be more. Art will find a way. Art will find a way. Thank you. I think Jurassic Park comes out this week. Yeah.
Jurassic World Dominion.
I can't believe they're still making those movies. Really, the only good one is the first one, y'all. The rest have just continued to be weird, and every time I see a new Jurassic Park movie, I just go, why do they keep making dinosaurs? Did they learn nothing from the first one? Like, everyone died except the 5 main characters. Like, come on, guys. Come on. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just stop.
Just stop.
Well, the other thing is, like, why do they keep being surprised? How do people keep being surprised?
They keep being surprised that raptors are going to kill people.
They're like, we know. Everyone has seen them now. They're all over the news. We get it.
Like, they literally, in like 2 or 3, like, they bring a dinosaur to like fucking San Francisco or something?
They crash into the dock at either California or New York.
San Diego. I think it's San Diego. Because they come from Hawaii. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or like from those islands.
Yeah.
That area in the Pacific. But like, yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, any reason to get the original cast back, I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably going to see it because they got
the entire
Jeff
original
Goldblum and Laura Dern and Sam Neill and all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the kids are in it.
Those kids
I think
awesome.
They are in it. So, I don't know. We'll find out. But
is BD Wong in it?
He is. Because he's in the preview going, "We messed up." He straight up says,
yeah, that's right.
"We messed up."
Oh, hey, my bad.
He's like, "Whoops-a-daisy."
Yeah.
Anyway,
he's a little busy now. He's off. He's directing the new stage musical based on the movie Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yes, he is. And he's been slaying it. He's won Tony Awards and, B.D. Wong's not hurting for art.
And it all started when he fucked up the dinosaurs. And he was the assistant in Father of the Bride, the movie, which he was Frank's assistant. So my childhood is very heavily influenced by B.D. Wong. Thank you, B.D. Wong. Thank you. So, hey, listener, what'd you think of that one? Did you enjoy that story? Did you enjoy our completely unrelated banter that just became absolute childish garbage by the end? Did you enjoy skillet licking?
I did.
No matter how you felt about any of those things, please do shoot us a message. Let us know what your thoughts were. And go ahead and include in your message to us this week's secret passcode, which is Intercorpse.
Intercorpse! Yep. You would think this was a Halloween episode. It's not.
This is June. June
is busting out all over.
Time. I don't know. That's it.
That's all I got.
I'm spent.
Yeah, I'll be in Utah next week, so we'll record in person. Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, or those two notes. This has been Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
That's kind of what I was going for. I just wanted to win this ending.
You won.